Hey everybody, it's John from the Hustle Daily Show. Before we get into the show today, did you know that HubSpot launched an AI chatbot that helps you build awesome campaigns at scale with just a few prompts? It's called Campaign Assistant, and it's a totally free-to-use AI tool made for marketers and business leaders who spend hours a day on content creation. Campaign Assistant will transform the way that you build marketing campaigns at scale. Craft personalized emails, ads, and landing pages in just a matter of minutes. Just pick the content type, add the key selling points, and let the AI take it from there. And the best part, it works seamlessly with all of HubSpot's marketing and sales tools to scale your output across email, social, and more. So AI your way into the most effective campaigns yet at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, November 13th. I'm Ben Berkley here with Sara Friedman, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Our top story to start this week is the emergence of a trend that's way past due. Companies are learning how to better serve people living with sensory processing disorders. Often associated with other health conditions like ADHD and autism spectrum disorders, sensory processing challenges impact a much bigger segment of the population than you may think. Some estimates say as many as 16% of Americans experience a heightened sensitivity to sensations like light, smell, touch, and sound. We'll talk more about the positive moves corporate America is making to adjust its practices for this community. But first, let's catch up on everything else making headlines in the world of business and tech today. Let's start with a wild wrinkle in WeWork's $47 billion fall from grace, where SoftBank, the Japanese investment giant that invested big in WeWork, is really just like compounding its losses here. It has lost $14 billion so far, and that number may still go up, but we're going to focus on just one head-scratching choice. The company gave former WeWork CEO Adam Neumann a personal loan of $430 million. The thing is, his WeWork shares were the only collateral in that deal, which probably made sense at the time. The shares were worth about $500 million, but today they're worth just $4 million. So now he can basically just pocket $426 million, and that is insult to injury. Tesla will make Cybertruck buyers agree to a 1-year moratorium on reselling their weird vehicles. If Tesla isn't given first right refusal at buying back one of the trucks, it'll go after owners who sell them for at least $50,000 and ban them from future purchases with Tesla. Google is going to start deleting a whole lot of inactive Gmail accounts at the end of the month. And by inactive, we mean if you haven't logged in about 2 years. Here's the problem. The older accounts are more commonly hacked and used for scams. This is because they're often not, set up with two-factor. So there are going to be a lot of accounts going away. Keep in mind, Gmail is the most popular email service in the world, boasting 1.8 billion plus users. Disney's newest film, The Marvels, notched the lowest ever opening weekend for a Marvel movie. The superhero flick picked up about $110.3 million globally, with about 47 of that domestically. That is against a $200 million production budget, and just kind of continues to drive home the point that maybe we need to cool it, a little oversaturated. But let's move on to other film news, where the head of C-3PO from 1977's original Star Wars film sold for $843,000. The prop was owned by Anthony Daniels, the actor behind the droid, and actually may have been purchased at a bit of a discount. Analysts did expect it to fetch up to $1.2 million. And one last thing here, there are 600 or so Chuck E. Cheese family entertainment centers scattered across the world. They're in 19 countries, but soon only one location will feature the chain's classic animatronic band. If you need to plan a pilgrimage to jam with Chucky and Jasper Jowls, or I can't even remember the name of all those guys in that band, that's going to be Northridge, California, which is going to have the one remaining band-bedecked location. that's actually pretty close to me. And I don't know whether to be thrilled by this news or slightly unsettled that those guys are just going to continue doing their thing in perpetuity in my backyard. But we can talk about something else right now. Okay, let's move on to our top story today. We're looking at the ways companies are improving their approach to accessibility, looking to better serve people living with sensory processing disorders. As I mentioned at the top of the show, this is a much more significant segment of the population than you may realize. Researchers estimate that, they vary, but it ranges about as high as 1 out of every 6 Americans living with sensory challenges. So we're talking about many millions of families that are impacted. And luckily, there is some progress being made when it comes to making the world more accessible for them. The biggest move yet in this space came from Walmart late last week. Sara, can you fill us in on what changes they are making?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, many people are living with sensory issues, and this can make things like going shopping or going to the movies more challenging. There are bright lights, loud noises, crowds, and those can become obstacles for many with sensory issues. So to solve for that, companies are getting creative with different products and experiences. So yes, this week, Walmart just announced the return of a sensory-friendly shopping hour, which will run every day. They tested this and it got such a good response that now it will be every day from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And during that window, TVs on the wall will display static images instead of video. The radio is turned off and the lights are lowered. So it's just a much more palatable experience for many, so that customers who might have sensory issues know that that's a time that they can shop comfortably. And there are lots of different types of companies doing sensory-friendly programming. So AMC Theaters has sensory-friendly movie showings. They actually turn the lights up so it's not so dark and turn the volume down. Chuck E. Cheese has sensory-sensitive Sundays, which is really cool for kids. And it's touching all sorts of industries. Royal Caribbean has autism-friendly cruise ships, and Beaches Resorts has autism-friendly vacation packages, just so parents and families are able to actually get these customized experiences to make it way more comfortable and easy for them while traveling.
This is awesome just to see it at a scale like this. I think that this is something that a lot of families have been really hoping for. One thing with this Walmart, this is every store in America where this is going to be happening on a daily basis. So that is a really big commitment to serving these communities. And I know that, you mentioned that it's not just experiences, but it's also products. Can you tell us about some of the products that are also being developed in this direction?
Yeah, it's touching basically everything. So Victoria's Secret recently launched an intimate apparel line for people with disabilities, and part of that was thinking about sensory-friendly fabrics. Kohl's also has an adaptive clothing brand for a bunch of its private label kids brands that also have sensory-friendly fabrics. And a really cool one, Chrysler partnered with the Autism Society of America on what they're calling a calm cabin package that goes inside of its minivans, and it includes a bunch of items like a weighted blanket or even a seatbelt sleeve to make that fabric a bit more comfortable. So really creative. Just, I think we're going to see a lot of this moving forward. Brands just being more thoughtful about their offerings, whether that is like an in-person retail experience or the products themselves.
It's really nice to see when it comes to accessibility. I think you have historically seen a lot of companies not prioritize it the way that they should. And I would say should not just on a it's the right thing to do. It's also just good business. This is a really obvious win for companies where let's zoom out from just, we've really focused in on sensory processing disorders here, but let's look at disabilities in general. I think if the latest numbers I could find were about 27% of adults in the US live with some type of disability. That's more than 1 in 4. And you're factoring in all of those people, all of their loved ones, and to, focus on serving them and push for inclusion. That's just a lot of potential customers you're bringing in. And, this is something that surely hits close to home for me, living in a family where there are a lot of health conditions in and around my family, where, thinking about how Walmart's doing this, like their sensory hours aren't something I'm likely to attend, mostly because like, I don't want to be awake and out of the house before 10 a.m. But I'm also much more likely to consider shopping at Walmart. This is kind of how our generation in particular really likes to shop, is with our values, and, kind of seeing them prioritize people in my family and making an effort to better their lives is definitely going to strengthen my relationship with the Walmart brand. So it's good to see. I hope that this really brings on a lot more of this type of accessibility push going forward.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because as you said, I think not only are so many of these conversations that we have about diversity and equity in business about it being the right thing, but it really does move the bottom line for businesses. And as you said, it's two-pronged, because it's not just consumers who would benefit from these things, but it's also like Gen Z as well. It's commonly noted that they really want their values to align with the businesses that they support. So it just seems like the obvious choice moving forward for companies to make these types of decisions. It's kind of a win-win for everyone.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Edgar Trupiano, and our executive producer is Darren Clarke. We've got a lot more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email. We will see you tomorrow.
Let me tell you about a show that I've been loving lately. It's called Entrepreneurs on Fire. It's hosted by the incredible John Lee Dumas. It's available now on the HubSpot Podcast Network. Entrepreneurs on Fire stokes inspiration and shares strategies to fire up your entrepreneurial journey and create the life that you've always dreamed of. I'm a big fan of this podcast. It has energy, it has value, and it's all about learning about entrepreneurship. I was just listening to an episode the other day. JLD interviewed Jay Rogers, who was such a wealth of information. He kind of went into how entrepreneurship chooses you. You don't necessarily choose it, and that failure only happens when you stop trying to win. A lot of gems in this one, so I highly recommend checking out that particular episode along with the rest. So go listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire wherever you get your podcasts. Hey guys, if you listen to the Hustle Daily Show on Google Podcasts, we want to let you know that the option will no longer be available pretty soon. Google is sunsetting its podcast app sometime in early 2024 in favor of YouTube Music, and we want to give you a heads up before it's too late, since that time's almost here. The Hustle Daily Show is available everywhere and anywhere that you listen to podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're using YouTube Music, we are there as well. If you're an Android fan, there are plenty of apps like Overcast, Pocket Casts, Player FM, and more. So just search for us wherever you decide to listen to your favorite podcasts.